Welcome to episode 10 of Beyond Zero's podcast. Coming up.
So when sometimes people say sir or ma'am,
they'll start off with sir and then give you a second look and go, oh, ma'am. And then, oops, sorry, what do you want to be called?
aha.
A lot of persons from the LGBTQI community, they don't know where to go. So we have these different sub-recipients. We refer to them as SRs that are implementing in quite a number of districts around South Africa. So the first step would be, identifying these different, sub-recipients that are funded under us as Beyond Zero. And then they can assist you with, whatever, services that you require.
Your mother one day said she'd be
Yes.
okay if maybe one of the daughters turned out to be
it's
lesbian.
because I never dated in school. I never had boyfriends. So my mother knew I was lesbian.
Maybe you were just a good girl. Buy a bank for the year.
No.
Okay.
So yes, she did say that she will accept that. And then I was married actually to a man for 13 years. And then,
Okay.
yes, so when he passed, I just thought to myself, well, the life I had been living for 13 years, I wasn't happy at all.
Today, we will be unpacking the intersectionality of GBV, HIV, and TB with human rights with Aaron Moloisi.
Sanibona Ndimelang molweni ndara koba tanganeza. That's how you do it. How you doing, South Africa? Another exciting topic, another important topic for us to stay empowered. Brought to you by Beyond Zero, the amazing team that makes sure that you know your rights as a person in South Africa, regardless of where you come from, regardless of how you identify yourself. You could be a member of the LGBTQIA community, or you could just be a person in the community who doesn't understand what happens when their rights are violated or they don't know what their rights are. That's why we bring you all these important conversations. And if you want any help, you want any information, call our toll-free number 01000 638. You can slide into our DM. Or you can inbox us, but for important things at Beyond Zero. Some of our handles could be Beyond Zero SA. So go in there, get all the help you want wherever you are in the country. We'll be able to advise you and refer you to the centers that will give you information. You continue to speak to the Rainbow Nation in South Africa. Alice. I've got my beautiful guests here, and of course, I've got Uzola, who gives us all the important information from Beyond Zero. She's a program working. The title?
Human Rights Program Officer.
Program Officer. And I've got my lovely guests here. I've got Tesh and also have Joe. They're from an organization. They will tell us exactly what they're doing. Spotlight on you, Joe.
I'm the chairperson for Nelson Mandela Bay Pride organization. So we host every year's Pride March and the festivities, and then we sometimes have a meet and greet. But this year we're aiming to create some more programs to support our community.
Oh, to reach out further.
Yes.
Okay.
We're not just for parties and pride. We want to help the community with some youth programs.
I like that because a lot of people, the minute you mention Pride, they're thinking,
It's just parties.
it's just parties all the time. Okay, so you're the president of the Pride this side, Nelson Mandela Bay Pride.
Well, the chairperson, we have an executive director as well, but he's on the road extensively at the moment.
Okay.
Because he's part of the PA movement.
When do you do your prides normally?
Our Pride is going to be on the 28th of October.
So normally around October every year?
Yeah, in last weekend of October.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a gig, miss.
Join us.
Tesh, so you work with Joe?
Yes, I'm Nelson Mandela Bay Pride's treasurer.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You mentioned something very important, Joe, to say you do the Pride, but you want to take it beyond just that one day celebration of the Pride. What are some of the challenges or maybe some of the, let's say, forthcomings in terms of information, first of all, for the rainbow population, the LGBTQI community?
A lot of the LGBT community struggle to find out where can they get help. They don't know which associations can help them with various things. Like your trans community, where do we go for medication? Off the street, you want somebody to go, hey, can you help me? Send me in the right direction. Healthcare. you go to a hospital, where do they put you?
In
If you
which
are in
ward?
the trans community, you might not look male or look female for that matter. Where do they place you? If you look like a girl but you're actually a boy, where do you go? You're going to make people uncomfortable just by being in the room.
Sure.
I mean, look at myself. I'm an open lesbian, but I don't tend to look like a girl. Even that is slightly, some people say sir, some will say ma'am, but
Really?
it is difficult when you are trans to get to the right help
Yeah.
because you don't feel comfortable in the predominant, your gender room, maybe.
So when sometimes people say sir or ma'am,
They'll start off with sir and then give you a second look and go, oh, ma'am. And then, oops, sorry, what do you want to be called?
aha, I was coming to that because sometimes I look at you thinking, okay, maybe I want to say sir because I want to show respect, but maybe I get it wrong and I say, maybe ma'am.
Yeah.
What is the right way to address you?
I usually don't even worry about saying whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to call me sir, be free. If you want to call me ma'am, it's fine. I am comfortable in my own identity. I don't need an affirmation of a gender pronoun to be comfortable.
Aha. So you non-binary completely.
Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't bother you when somebody calls you.
Mispronounces me, no.
Really?
No.
It never bothered you,
No.
even from the beginning.
Nope.
Why?
I'm comfortable in my own body. I don't need to change it. I don't need to be somebody else that I'm not.
How did you get to that comfortable space?
I think when you spend half your life conforming and you come to a point where you say, I'm not happy, you choose to be yourself. And then everything else becomes irrelevant.
Aha. So when you become
Myself, yes.
yourself, everything else doesn't matter.
No.
That's quite deep, actually. Everything else will go with what you say.
If I decide I'm happy with myself, then it doesn't really matter what you call me.
Yeah. Tej, Joyce mentioned the fact that a lot of people, like examples of not being able to get health, access to health services, which is very key. Because sometimes if they make you uncomfortable or you're going there to look for help and they can't help you, it's up on you physically, God forbid, sometimes you even pass on. Yeah. What do you think should be done then?
Personally, I think they should ask the person. Like, for instance, when you go to hospital, they should ask the person, in what ward would you feel safer, men or women? And in that way, then they place you in the right place.
Okay. That's why we actually have organizations like Beyond Zero, because they do a lot of work on the ground, a lot of programs. Ne? In this situation, let's use the same example. So, access to health, particularly within the LGBTQIA community. What's your work there?
So, for example, here in Nelson Mandela Bay and other neighboring districts and provinces as well, we have quite a number of organizations. Then they don't only, focus on one key population. They focus on all key populations. So your yes, your LGBTQI, A+, your MSM, key populations, people living with HIV, and they also render quite a number of services. So you did indicate that, a lot of persons from the LGBTQI community, they don't know where to go. So we have these different sub-recipients. We refer to them as SRs that are implementing in quite a number of districts around South Africa. So the first step would be, identifying these different, sub-recipients that are funded under us as Beyond Zero. And then they can assist you with, whatever, services that you require, such as your HIV testing, your PrEP uptake, services, human rights violations. We get a lot of human rights violations from the LGBTQIA+ community. community. And for services that they are unable to assist you with, they can then refer.
Yeah.
You know, but what I've also noticed in the line of work that I do, specifically under the Beyond Zero Human Rights Program, is that a lot of, you know, human rights violations that are coming from the LGBTQIA+ community, there are quite a number of them, you know, and there is quite a lot of work that we are doing when it comes to the LGBTQIA+ community. But I think we also need to work hand in hand, you know, with organizations such as yourself, because we're not getting that many violations or human rights violations. We're not getting that many people that are coming from, you know, the LGBTQIA+ community who are coming forward.
Why is that?
To be honest, I think it all boils down to some of, you know, the incidences that have happened within the LGBTQIA+ community, and not just that key priority group only, but other groups as well, is that sometimes they feel as, you know, they are shunned upon, they feel voiceless, or, you know, unheard, and they just feel as if, you know, we've received incidents where some of them feel as if, you know, regardless of the reporting that they do, or, you know, them coming forward, they don't receive much justice.
Nothing happens,
You know, so, or it falls onto deaf ears. But like I said earlier on, I think just referring you to organizations such as the ones that we work with, they do assist, you know, not just from, you know, the middle, but from the onset right up until the end. So I think a good collaboration with the organizations that are based in the area that you're also working in could go a long way.
In fact, talking about incidences, Joe, do you know of any stories, or maybe even if it's individuals, that you get to work with, or you've come across, where somebody is being abused for so long, they didn't even know, maybe they tried reporting and the police didn't help them just because of their sexual orientation? How rife are those cases? Because, like Zola is saying,
I think a lot of these people don't really approach organizations because they're scared of retribution within their own families.
which is now violation from.
We don't have safe houses for LGBTQ youth or individuals. So if you speak out about something, you get chased out of the house. Where do you go? You
get disowned.
So you tend to stay quiet, don't you?
And die in silence.
So I think a bigger need would also be to address the aspect of having somewhere for people to go. And even the organizations currently in place don't really cater for the LGBTQ. Because if you're, just take the trans community, if you are a trans male and you go to a shelter, where they're going to place you? Or if you're a trans woman, but you're going to get abused there too. Because it's not really catering towards the LGBTQ community.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, it sounds to me like there's a gap, because the both worlds, which they should not even exist as both worlds, we don't want to approach as the LGBTQIA community because we think they're not going to help anyway, because there are cases of people that are approached. At the same time, you've got organizations like Beyond Zero who are ready and prepared to help, but nobody's coming forth. I want us to close that gap.
We need a support system in place so that the gap can be closed.
How do you suggest?
If there's a fear of, I won't have a place to live, or I'm going to be kicked out of my home because of what I've just said, how more likely are they not to speak up?
True. And shelter is
especially in your poor communities. I mean, kids have been disowned for less than that. Just for crossing the racial barrier alone, have already gotten kids disowned. Never mind dating the same sex. So they're not coming forward because they've got nowhere else to go.
Which is a basic human right to shelter. And if you don't have that basic right to shelter, which guards your instinct, survival instinct, other things become secondary.
And with unemployment being so high, it's not exactly as if they can go and rent a place either. So where do you go?
Sometimes you don't even get hired just because you're trans.
Yes.
Because people have got a phobia. Just to clarify, trans men, an individual who's born female in terms of gender, and they're transitioning into a man. Trans woman, the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Born male and transitioning into a woman. Just so we clarify. Because people are thinking if you're trans man, you're a man, but you're trans because you like other men. You know, there's a whole lot of confusion, and which is something that brings me back to what you do. You've got a way of explaining all the alphabets, the LGBTQIA+. Ne?
Yeah, we have a website, and we explain the whole. Every letter is the abbreviation is listed in our website.
Yeah. Okay.
So that people can actually educate themselves.
And know that which part of the letter you are.
Yes.
Because sometimes you could be intersex and we think you're trans.
You could actually fall under more than one letter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a lesbian, but I'm also non-gender confining either as well. So
What's your website?
it's www.nelsonmandelabaypride.co.za.
Mr. President, I think we should check it out. Remember, we were struggling to say LGBTQIA to XYZ. So that's where you get the breakdown of every single letter and you understand what it is.
And there's more information on our website as well. So it's www.nelsonmandelabaypride.co.za.
You're saying that a lot of people rather die in silence because the pressing need is the shelter.
Just to survive.
Aren't there shelters around this area?
We have shelters in PE, but as I said, nothing that caters towards our community. Because even in shelters, there are dangers for the community.
Because of lack of information?
Lack of information, and also because, I mean, your transgender population, when you look decidedly female and you enter a male domain, people take advantage of you. It will happen. It's part of the gender-based violence as well.
Tish, obviously your family knows now. You know?
Yes.
You with Joe.
Yes.
Can I say it?
Yes, you may.
Oops, I just said it.
It's okay.
How did you navigate within your family, getting them to understand this is your life, this is your choice, and they get them to respect your life and choices?
Well, that's a difficult question. Well, my mother was always, the one day she said she would be okay if one of her daughters turned out to be lesbian. And
Wait. Say it again slow. Your mother one day said she'd be
Yes.
okay if maybe one of the daughters turned out to be
it's
lesbian.
because I never dated in school. I never had boyfriends. So my mother knew I was lesbian.
Maybe you were just a good girl. Buy a bank for the year.
No.
Okay.
So yes, she did say that she will accept that. And then I was married actually to a man for 13 years. And then
Okay.
yes. So when he passed, I just thought to myself, well, the life I had been living for 13 years, I wasn't happy at all. Yes. And then so I met someone who's also a woman. And then from there on, I just knew, well, this is me. And I wasn't afraid of what people was going to say because it's my life. Yes. My mother raised me to be proud of who you are and what you want to do in life and where you want to go. So I was never worried about what the people was going to say.
Yeah. There are hundreds and thousands of people who would like to become and then be comfortable. But that kind of support is not there, particularly if you're from a poor area, like you said, or you've got a community that doesn't have the knowledge or they just don't understand.
Yeah, and even your Afrikaans families are very rigid as well.
Really?
Yes. You go to church on Sunday and you're supposed to dress like this, and you've got to conform to a certain norm.
Okay.
I was brought up in a very Afrikaans family. And
Because, I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't think it's ignorance or, what do you say, not wanted, or assumptions. We tend to think that black communities, homophobia or whatever type of phobia or violation of human rights or abuse is because it's black people. It's a stereotype. So Afrikaners, they can tell you, no.
they got the same thing.
Not in my house. Ha!
When I came out, my mother wasn't very happy. She said to me, it's against the Bible, hey? And I said, my God loved me. He made me this way. And so that was fine. She thought about it a bit and realized that if you really do believe in your God to be the ultimate being, then he doesn't make mistakes. There's a reason I am like I am. I have a part to play.
I have a part to play in this world that God created.
Yes. And if you need the threat of hell to be a good person, you're just a bad person on a leash.
Yeah. Zola, where do we begin to make the connect, to close the gap between organizations, between any other, entities that want to help and work with the communities, like, for instance, the Nelson Mandela Pride? How do we begin the relationship, the partnership?
So what I actually wanted to ask, so you did mention that one of the main issues is not having shelter. But so apart from that, specific issue, what other issues, do you also encounter from, the different clients that you work with? And I'm also interested to find out about the programs that you offer, whether it's programs, it's sensitizations that you offer, not just to, the LGBTQI community, but also their families. Since most of the, discrimination, the neglect, the abuse, which all form part of, human rights violations, how then do you provide assistance or training?
I think that, you need to have, you can't just counsel the individual. It's a whole family thing.
True.
You need to get counseling programs that will take the whole into account. Because a lot of the things that happen is because of ignorance. Education for the family and people around them will go a long way to help alleviate the problem. And funding and work-wise, there's not a lot of broad-based jobs available for any youth, for that matter. So that's also part of creating a system where you can get internships or learnerships. That even if you're not getting a massive income at the start, at least you're learning a skill that you can use to go forward.
True.
So we are in the works of getting businesses that would be willing to help with internships.
Okay.
But it's a long road because you have to find people who are willing to do that first. And not everybody is.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I think on our side, as Beyond Zero, I think how we could then, collaborate or, come work together. So we conduct a lot of, outreach work. We do, apart from the services that I mentioned earlier on, we do a lot of activations, awareness campaigns, and we're not just, simply educating the key populations that we work with, but we do a lot of work towards the families as well. Because a lot of, the incidences which occur, the victimization, it comes from the families. So we do offer, through our SRs, we do offer a lot of trainings on, what are human rights, what are human rights violations, what are human rights specifically for key and priority populations.
So meaning that you could help training whoever they work with to further the message, to be able to assist the
I would
families.
think even the board would benefit from a session. Because we can then impart what we've learned on a broader spectrum on a day-to-day basis.
100%. Or you could even come into one of the sessions or the campaigns that we have, and you can educate not just us, but the community overall, because there's only so much, information that we have, for example. And like you said, education goes, a long way, and we're constantly learning. I mean, earlier on, when Aaron was asking, how do you want to be addressed? Some people would enter a room and simply say, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Whereas, asking people, what pronoun would you like to, be addressed as? That's where we are now, and I personally myself, I know that because of the space in which I work in, Before that, I was, quite ignorant. But, being educated and being in the space that I work in, I now know that you don't just assume, So I think just inviting you, collaborating with you through the different organizations that we have, whether it's on services that, the LGBTQIA plus community requires, whether it's, informing you of, your basic or your fundamental human rights. I think that would be a great starting point, for sure. Absolutely.
Because you're on the ground. You know this. You go through this. You experience. You know the community. So let's take you beyond zero.
We should do so.
Let's take you beyond zero. Let's talk about access to business and access to just financial participation. I know you've got a project, the stickers.
Yeah, the stickers is part
A
of
lot
the
of
project.
people, besides not getting basic standard skills to get a job, some of them struggle to even operate businesses. People don't want to support your business because you're gay, because you're trans, They confine you to a little hair salon or a little makeup artist.
It's like they have a niche market for the gay community.
Yeah.
But a hairdresser, he must be gay.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Biggest fashion designer, gay, So I want to talk about access to financial participation within the rainbow community.
Yeah, we do need businesses to offer internships or learnerships. We would even go as far as asking people to mentor somebody.
Yes.
So that if they struggle, they can talk to somebody. That way, it's not just you go to your nearest pride, because we're going to be inundated with people. There are just too many people for us to handle just on our own.
True.
You need people to step forward and say, I'm willing to do my part.
Talking of people stepping forward, you were telling me about an example outside about one of the officials saying that there are 15,000 LGBTQ members in the...
We don't see them.
Yes.
People aren't as obvious about who they are. I don't know if it's the stigma involved or if it's we like to sit in the background, because I think there's still a bit of homophobia around.
Why should you even explain yourself? Why should you even explain yourself?
Yeah.
You see?
I never technically do that. I mean, I just go wherever I go and I dress the way I want to, because really I am who I am. But not everybody has the confidence to own themselves.
True. Let's talk about your stickers project, because I know you work a lot with businesses to support the movement, and she's the actual designer of the graphics, by
Yes,
the
I
way.
am.
We'll get a close-up of this later on and really show. So what's the idea of the stickers and the businesses you get involved in?
Well, as we said before, we had an incident last year where a business owner wrote in his shop, he said that the LGBTQIA community aren't allowed in his shop, to shop at his shop.
This is in Nelson Mandela Bay?
Yes, it
In
was.
Kabeja?
Yes.
So a business put up something in the store to say,
We're not welcome.
why?
We have no idea.
Well, it's a homophobia.
Yes, just...
And they have this picture of we are the bad vibe in the little thing they have in their minds. And we are, danger to their children, which really.
Yes. So I created the sticker so businesses can, the big one.
Yeah.
So businesses can stick this inside their shop, in the window or the door, and then it can be seen from outside, so that everybody is safe to shop there.
Okay, so businesses that pledge the support and understanding of the LGBTQI community, they get to buy stickers from you, and they have them visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then when we go shopping, our community, we know that this shop supports us, and we can go there. It's a safe space,
Yes.
and it makes everybody feel welcome.
And it also puts the shame on some of the businesses that have such silly stickers of saying I don't want.
Yes.
I mean, it's a much more positive influence to say to businesses around a bad business that doesn't want us there, let people around him buy a sticker, and eventually he's going to go, but no supporting.
We are just people buying groceries, necessities.
Exactly.
Why can't we just
We're no
shop
different than
anywhere?
everybody else.
I think sometimes I battle with whether it's ignorance or not, because I mean, people still don't know the difference between sex, gender, and sexuality. So it is important that we form those networks and the relationships and not work in silos. Because I mean, you are sitting here, like I said earlier, on the gap. That's what we need to break. You mentioned something interesting, that businesses around here, some of them are open to supporting the community and even visibly to do that, which is why the Stickers project is successful. What else needs to happen?
We need to get business to participate. We need to get it bigger. You know, you could advertise. You can do floats with us, so that people know that it's okay. You can be yourself.
And in fact, interestingly enough, I think there are certain families that if the word is coming from a trusted source, like a big business that they buy from, they'll be thinking, oh, why am I now abusing my children? Because if this kind of shop or this kind of business is supporting this movement, which means they understand, they will seek knowledge, you know, and not be ignorant. Zola, what else can we do?
So I was actually just thinking, just taking it back a bit, you mentioned that there's a shop in the area that is fully against, persons from the LGBTQIA plus community. And it just clicked to me that the president of South Africa recently approved the hate crimes speech bill. So I think that could be a step in, speaking up against, people that have that negative or backward, perception, and, just confronting, shops such as that, or companies that have that mentality or mindset. That could be, a step in the right direction, because the reason why we're fighting for, reforms of certain policies, that's what we do under the Human Rights Program. So we're contesting, challenging some policies, some laws that go against or don't protect the human rights of the key populations that we work with. So now knowing that, the hate crime speech bill has been passed, and one of our organizations actually that also focuses on the LGBTQIA plus community, was part of those, processes, which was actually, a highlight for us as Beyond Zero and for the organization actually. So I think that would be step number one, in approaching using the policies that we fight for as organizations that, are protecting and assisting and working towards the rights of, key populations. I think, another approach would be, collaborating with other organizations, that deal with, similar situations, similar issues, similar, key priority groups. I think like you mentioned earlier on, instead of having, just one organization that's, based here in Nelson Mandela Bay, if you have another organization, for example, we have an organization that's based in the Northwest Province, Access Chapter 2, they also deal with, LGBTQIA plus as a key priority, amongst other key priorities as well. Because also, the aim for the Human Rights Program and, for Just Beyond Zero, for, the program that we under, the funding that we under, we leave no one behind. And for the Human Rights Program, we also, breaking down barriers. So those are the barriers that we're wanting to, break down. And if we could, collaborate with other organizations, like you mentioned, we also have an organization in KwaZulu-Natal, the Lesbian and Gay Center. They're also doing incredible work when it comes to, key priority populations. They are also out there. They do a lot of work for Pride as well. So I think just linking the organizations together and just having more of an amplifying impact could go a long way.
I would almost say it's something like a national database. That we can all access all the resources. Because you might have a situation in your province or in your town, and you can look at the other organizations, oh, there's a precedent for this. We will tackle it this way. Because when you haven't encountered it before, where have I seen this before? How can I handle this situation? Where do you go? So a national database where everything's in one go would help a lot as well, which is why we need to collaborate with other groups.
And which is why I want to commend you for being able to even come today and talk to us about these things. Because, I mean, a lot of times we might know you exist. We don't know really what you do. You might know there might be some organization somewhere that helps, but conversations like this are helping to open up the space and make the circle bigger. And like you were saying, when we all connect, we get to get up quicker and faster.
Yeah. Because it doesn't help you have all these little organizations and they're all fighting the each separate battles. When in matter of fact, half of those battles is actually one big one. Go together. Fight it together.
Fight it together.
The more voices you have, the better.
Ne? Gets louder.
And also what I also wanted to just ask in terms of the community. So we've spoken about, collaboration, linkages, and also just hoping that the conversation doesn't, end here. We definitely need to do an entire mapping exercise where we also locate other organizations, even organizations that fall outside of Beyond Zero, and going back to the unemployment, the societal issues that, not just young people have, but just people at large. They are stakeholders. We do a lot of stakeholder engagement at Beyond Zero. So I think that's something that we could definitely also, collaborate on, also assist, just pushing the initiative that you were speaking about. But what I'm also, really interested in is that how do you think we can go about, sensitizing the community at large, not just, the key priority populations that you're working with, but also just educating, training, sensitizing, communities. How can we go about just bridging that gap?
I think the various organizations do actually need to do a little bit of community work together. Together.
Yes.
Because if, say, Pride works with animal welfare, it doesn't become a gay thing or that thing. It is two coming together doing something to help a broader based community.
It's a humanity thing. It's not a gay thing, a church thing, or we're all in one. We're all in one together. Tess, just before we wrap it up, some people might think, anyway, we can hear what you're saying. You chose to do whatever you chose because they think you wake up one day and choose. They don't think you're born the way you are. What would you want to say to anybody who says, oh, I didn't know that, I would like to know more, or I didn't know that and I didn't know how to ask? What is the best way to approach the support and understanding of the LGBTQIA community? Do we ask, for instance, to say, sorry, should I ask, or should you not even ask?
No, you can ask. You should ask. If you don't know something or know anything about something, ask.
I've literally had men actually approach me in a pub and ask me about the gay community and how, why, and how we perceive. And I said to me, there's no difference.
Straight men?
Straight men have asked me.
Okay, give me an example. So one day you're sitting at a bar,
I was sitting in a
having
pub
your beer and...
with chatting. This guy came in and he started talking to me. And he said to me, you look like I can ask you this, but how did you know you were gay and why are you gay? And it was a question of, no, we weren't hurt. There's not a reason for it.
Yeah.
We are people. You come to a point in your life where you realize, am I happy, am I not happy? If I'm not happy, then I must do what makes me happy.
And this was not a straight man. It was not a gay man. It was a straight man.
It was not a gay man. It was a straight man.
That's interesting.
Because you must understand, straight people also sometimes are scared of asking you because they don't want to offend you. And I found that if you are open enough about yourself and you really don't care, like I do, people do tend to approach you easier.
Because then it's not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal. But if I do know that some of our community won't welcome the question. You'll get clobbered.
I
But,
know. Like I'm thinking when you
But
say
it's not a everyone thing.
true.
But some of us are open about talking about it.
You know, my mind went wild when you said
And I think really you could just say, may I ask you a personal question?
simple. My mind went wild when you said like some men in bars, they come and they approach. I'm thinking, are they proposing what's happening here?
Just conversation.
This conversation.
I've had my most amazing religious conversations, spiritual conversations, and LGBT conversations in bars with people.
You see,
Because I have an approachable face.
it's a space where people can be comfortable as well. Wow, I've got friends that have got like massive crashes on like your butch lesbians, but they don't know if that means they are lesbian or not, or maybe it's just a fantasy.
The thing I'd like to say to people also is there's a big difference in whether or not you like a man or a woman. You might not like a man per se. You might like the masculine energy they give off. Because liking the masculine energy doesn't necessarily mean you want a man.
Yes.
Or liking the feminine energy does not necessarily mean it has to be a woman.
Just like a straight man who's fully comfortably straight prefers a stronger woman.
Yes.
Because
It's
they
the
give them,
energy they like.
yeah.
You don't base, the energy is not gender based.
Now that's positive masculine or feminine energy. Some people use that to then abuse others.
Well, that's toxic masculine or toxic feminine energy. There's always an extreme in something.
Yeah.
Your misogynistic males are the toxic side of masculinity.
Yo, I call them the origins of patriarchy. Do you want to add something? It looked like you wanted to add something.
No, I was just going to say that people should be open to ask questions. If it's not something you know about, don't assume. You should always ask.
You should always ask. Last words?
For me, so we have 16 days of activism coming up in a few months, I think in about 2 months or so. So how I always feel about Pride, don't get me wrong, I feel as if it happens and then people forget about it. People forget about the messaging, the awareness that's centered around Pride. So we have the hashtag Beyond Silence, right? Which originates from our human rights program. So I think with 16 days of activism that's coming up, which focuses on gender-based violence. There's a lot of gender-based violence that happens actually within the LGBTQIA+ community. I think just a step forward from the conversation we've had. I think just, the plan is to sustain our tagline, hashtag Beyond Silence, which has many interpretations based on our key and priority population. So I think with 16 days of activism coming up, I think it would be great to have that collab of, gender-based violence, not just, for adolescents and, women, but also to include, other key populations, especially the LGBTQIA+ community, so that there's actually a continuation of Pride or the messaging around Pride. We can, maybe have a massive campaign that just speaks out on, GBV against, LGBTQIA+ community, in addition to, adolescents and, women as well.
I like. Remember you mentioned, because the minute you mention Pride, people think, ooh, one day of party. Then it disappears. Let's take this further.
Yeah.
So the partnership must start now, and whatever need that's there, we cater, we continue to empower, we continue to expand the voice.
We don't just want Pride.
Yeah.
We want the community to benefit from other programs. Pride is the funding point for the programs.
True, yeah.
The party is basically what gets people to say, here I am. But it helps with funding.
Exactly. Because that's where you kickstart and it's the picture's broader.
Yeah.
We must be proud of Pride.
We usually, every year we choose a Pride ambassador. People send in a letter and the details, and they take part. It's not really a pageant. It's more, what do they want to bring to the table? And our Pride ambassador gets a place on our board for 1 year. And then the next year we choose somebody else. but it does give the broader community a chance to see what happens.
Active participation.
And breaking into spaces as well. Yeah.
And as well, because it's Intersex Awareness Day, we are doing it as MX Ambassador. It's a non-gender based title. So it's MX Ambassador.
MX Ambassador.
MX.
Say it in full. MX
Ambassador.
Okay, what is M?
Your MX is your general neuter term like Mr. or Mrs. or...
Or instead of MR or MRS or MS is MX.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So it's not based on genitals.
So if you're non-binary on the form and they say Mr. or Mrs., you say MX.
MX.
Hey, Tara. I like.
It's easier.
It's easier, ne? Okay. You know what? There's a lot we can continue about these topics. Just make sure that wherever you are in your space, continue to follow our conversations on our socials. Use our hashtag Beyond Silence. You'll be able to track every single thing that we're talking about here. And any other information that you want to share with us as well, you can track. You can get into our socials as well, and also call our toll-free number. That number again, 08638. 08638. That's where you can get us an anonymous number, toll-free number, where anything and everything that you want to know about human rights, about what we do as Beyond Zero, your partner in health transformation. Thank you, South Africa. See you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Beyond Zero for its adolescent and young people's program, Men Who Have Sex with Men program, and Transgender program. We are Beyond Zero.